evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. I am Aaron, aka the Handy Outdoor Nerd, and Chris is not here for the C part of the AC show, so I've got two other guests to kind of compensate for that.
It takes two of us to make up for him. So.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, Chris and
I was just realizing without Chris here, without me, if Chris were here and I weren't here, we would have the Aaron, Brian, and Chris ABCs. But then I mess it up, which is that's what I do.
We have the AB3Ds.
So, even better.
That's why we keep you around, Brian, and you come up with good stuff like that.
That was not good stuff.
He's like, I've got better stuff. Just wait.
And we kiboshed it.
That's
all right. So we've got our people that we've had on numerous times: Joe Larson, aka the 3D printing professor, and Brian Vines, aka BB3D.
That's me.
So they are my co-hosts for the night because, as you all in chat notice, Chris popped in for a second and said it's his daughter's birthday party today, so that's why he's not on today. So
I would say that's no excuse, but that's an
excuse. But this is our first week back for the 3 weeks hiatus that we did. So yeah,
did you see?
It's kind of nice.
3D print Viking suggestion for this one. I think I should leave because this is bad.
That blows.
It's just getting started.
Brian, yours was not bad. No. With that out of the way, what are we all doing tonight?
Providing some illuminating conversation.
Hold on, I've got.
Well, you missed it, Joe. So
that's a black light. If we're doing black lights, I'll grab a black light.
He's gonna show everybody up.
So I've been crawling around underneath the desk because I had to get a new computer, and I decided this time I would get a desktop machine that doesn't go anywhere. That way I won't drop it and break it again.
Well, and then it fell off the back of the desk.
It's been fine so far, but it does mean that I have to be on the ground, crawling underneath, doing wire management, and so yeah, I've got a flashlight nearby so that I can do that.
Hey, Eddie. So it's Chris's daughter's birthday party today, so he's MIA.
He skipped out.
Guys, don't.
It's her party, and he'll skip if he wants to.
He just didn't want to face him again. All right.
So I got the printer up and going, Eddie, and that's actually been printing on it.
He printed a cycone.
So I also did my test prints of.
It's round things.
I did the power coins from the Power Rangers.
Ooh. Oh.
And I did them in gold. Hatchbox.
No, wait a second. Were all the power coins just that shape? I thought they had the dinosaurs on them.
Well, they do. So
there we go. That's the one. Which one is that one?
So this Triceratops.
You have to put it in your palm, hold it to the camera, and say the name as loud as you can.
Pterodactyl.
There you go. Wait a second. You went with the girls? That's fine. That's fine. No, we're no judge.
I got Mastodon and Triceratops, and then obviously I've got the Dragon Zord, and then Lord Draken's coin.
Which one was Lord Draken?
That's a newer one. Well,
you're going into fan fiction
so,
now.
Well, Lord Draken and also the White Ranger. but it's kind of the same emblem for Lord Draken and the White Ranger. So
I guess I figured that was all white.
So I thought we would go about talking how we troubleshoot some prints and the printers that have issues now and again, because I had an issue pop up on mine that happened with this piece. Well, I had two things happen. One, the power surged and it stopped just a little over halfway through. You can see the seam right here. Yeah. I glooped it together.
It's unseemly.
Yeah, I know. You can see this shift in the layer here. And then
is that where it went from being like a solid base to just the side walls, or what?
No. So printed this first, and then I printed this.
If you yell in the small end, does it make it louder on the big end?
It does, actually. It's really fun. I tried to get my son to do it. I'm like, hello there.
You gotta do like the old timey,
Well, here you go.
Got a croon in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the AC Show, the coolest show on YouTube.
Nice.
There you go. So I saved this one to do last because I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough of this gray to do this one. And then the power surged and messed that up. But what happened was I had wonderful binder clips on the print bed. And Brian, you were just in a stream and I heard part of a conversation about binder clips.
Yes, you did.
On the print bed. And that popped into my head of this happening. So they printed like this, but this part sticks out farther, and right about here is where the binder clip was setting. And so it ran into the binder clip and was so
that's the noise it makes when it's not going to keep printing in the same place the next layer.
Yes.
Yeah. So I stopped it and I completely reset the printer to do it again, and ended up printing. So it was printing fine, and well, I had to do other stuff, and it shifted. I mean, that's a minimal shift. I was like, that's not bad. I can deal with that. Power went out and stuff, and then so okay, well, had to slice it and print it again, and I mean, you can see how major of a shift that was. Yes. Okay, are you guys ready for it?
He's here.
MrCarrell's daughter.
What's up, guys?
Happy birthday to her. Happy birthday
so, yeah, you
to
can
her.
See that really, really big shift right there.
So now we've got the ABCs 3D.
Yes.
I'm having some audio music.
So Aaron, you were talking about diagnosing bad prints. And
bad prints or problems with the printer. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. So from the perspective of somebody who has never used 3D printing, what I tell people at the makerspace is the first thing that they need to do is know the parts of a 3D printer. You can't start diagnosing your 3D printer without being, or you can't start diagnosing your print without being at least familiar with the process of how a 3D print or how plastic turns into a 3D print. So know your 3D printer is the first thing. And then once you do that, you can start to say, okay, well, was my problem with the feed motor? Was my problem with the extruder? Was my problem with the movement system? Was my problem with the build plate? All of which are very common problems to have. Now the second thing that you talked about that I thought I should mention something about was when the nozzle hit that clip and it went click and made a terrible
impact. Oh my gosh, it was horrible.
It is. It's a terrible, terrible sound, and it causes people who are new to 3D printing to panic when they first hear it. Now, I don't know. I hope all of you guys understand this, but that noise is not bad. That noise is actually, in fact, good? Question mark?
Yeah.
Because
It's good and bad.
well, what is that
It's
noise?
a sign of something. Well, yeah, it's a sign of something's wrong happening, but you get to find out.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's called stepper stutter. All of the motors on 3D printers are electrical motors called stepper motors. And I'm sure you guys know, but I'm saying this for the benefit of anybody who might want to teach this to somebody in the future. You teach them a little bit about a stepper motor. You teach them that you got the rotor, you got the stator, they got little magnets on them that they flip the polarity of the magnet to cause it to pull. And that stepper stutter is the sound of the magnet trying to pull, not being able to, and it jerking back to the previous notch because magnets only have 2 poles. So it kind of flips the wrong direction with that. But in this process, there are no gears grinding. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like something's breaking. Gears are grinding. No, it's literally magnetic forces flipping things faster than they should. There's no physical connection being damaged by this. So that sound does not mean that your printer is broken. It just means, like Brian said, the next layer isn't going to start where it's supposed to because these darn things are working with blind reckoning and they don't reorient at every layer.
Well, so the interesting thing was this entire thing printed this far, and then it shifted, which will occasionally happen and then this one printed this far, and then it shifted majorly. So, I mean, I found out what the problem was, what was causing the shifts. Any guess on what caused the shift?
Well, I would think either the nozzle was catching on something.
Okay, no, I actually had after it did the collision, I stopped it because I needed to move the clip. So I moved the clip out of the build volume, and then I started it back up, and it was perfectly fine. So.
Or, I don't know. Loose belt.
Loose belt. Look at that. Same time.
So the funny thing was, it's a Core XY. So it's got the 4 belts. It's got the 2 on the sides and the front and the back. The one on the very front was the problem. The very top of it was tight. I mean, like strum it like a guitar tight, and the bottom was like that.
Twang. Bleh.
Yeah, it just, you can just like lift it, it would just drop. So that was the actual problem. So with that impact, it actually was moving, and it got it to where this would move, and it got that super tight.
A little bit
but
late
the
on
lower
that.
part was just hanging there. So this part was really tight. So it would print perfectly fine, but then it would get to a part where, okay, that tooth would skip back, and then it would shift the layers. Right. And it must have shifted several teeth for that part there. So that was the problem. So that's actually the first time I've had layer shifting problems with 3D printing, which is an interesting problem to run into.
So many times.
So yeah, I was just like, what could be causing that? So yeah, that was my problem.
I haven't ever used a Core XY printer, so I don't know. I mean, I know the belt system is a lot more complicated than on like a standard Cartesian. And I know that in order for like the nozzle to move in one direction, it's kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch at 45 degrees or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's absolutely beautiful the way that it works. That it even works. It's gorgeous. But
yeah. Oh, it's awesome. I like it. So the first problem I had actually with it, I was able to get some prints out of it now and again, and then it would clog. It would clog. It would, and I say clog in the fact of it wouldn't extrude. It was seeming like it got too cool or something to where the filament wasn't coming through the hot end. So the actual problem was what you were talking about on, you don't get enough voltage to your stepper motors or something, and you have problems. The extruder motor wasn't getting enough voltage to it, so it would print fine for a little bit, because I would do the power coins as my test because I wanted to see on leveling, because I was constantly trying to get the leveling in and see how it would go, and then it would have that problem. So this would print, in 7 different locations on the print bed, so I can kind of see how it is after I've already leveled it, and then it would just have an issue. So the stepper motor was the problem. It was not receiving enough voltage. So some of them you have to go clockwise on it. There's counterclockwise for adjusting the stepper motor drivers on the board. I can't quite remember, but this one is, I think it's clockwise that you do it, but this one was counterclockwise. I don't know why, but I had to, because I was like, okay, I watched a video on like which direction I had to turn it, because I couldn't remember. I'm like, well, look it up and find it. Okay, so I turned it.
Had it been assembled in Australia?
Ask Eddie. That's one I got from Eddie. So I was like, okay, I turned it that way, and it would not even go. So so what was happening originally, it would say this is the gear, so it'd go perfectly fine. All of a sudden, after a while, printing just goes. It just would not have that force to feed it through. So my diagnosis was the stepper motor. I was like, all right, well, let's change out stepper motors, see if that's the problem, replace it, see if it was just a shoddy motor. No, it wasn't a shoddy motor. The motor I replaced with it did the same thing. So then I adjusted that.
Got to do that current adjustment on it.
Yeah, so I did that, and I got it printing. It was printing good. So, and then that happened. So, I mean, yeah. So if it's not extruding, and you've got one that you can adjust the stepper motor drivers, that little dial in there, just get yourself a voltage meter and look up on YouTube. Just make sure you're doing it right, and make sure you're putting the prongs in the correct places and not frying yourself or your board.
No,
you have to do it.
Can I admit, without losing too many goodwill points, that I hate having to adjust the voltage of my steppers? Like I just feel like if I get a 3D printer and I have to go to that level of engineering to get it to work, that's a failure on the part of the people who, now, mind you, cheap 3D printers, what are you going to do? They all have that problem. But, oh, man, if I never had to adjust, I mean, it's not hard, but I just feel like, I don't know. And that's me. I'm a designer. I want to be designing stuff. I want to be making cool stuff. I do not want to be twisting potentiometers on a motherboard,
It's kind of like buying a car and then having to make a bunch of adjustments under the hood to get it to run right.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of don't want to have to do that.
Oh, no.
ANET A8 for the win.
Ooh, burn.
Quite literally.
So, yeah. Well, Eddie, also, I was using the firmware that was on the printer just to try to see how it was going to print offhand. So I do need to
recognize that there are a lot of people, probably a lot who are watching this stream, who they would rather be fiddling with the 3D printer. That's I really enjoy going to maker fairs and rep rap festivals and checking out these people who are like, oh, I love building this 3D printer. I love fine tuning it and getting it so that it'll do just incredible. Look at the high detail I was able to get on this print. And I'm like, cool, what are you going to do with that? And they're like, I'll make another test print. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I love tinkering with things and working on it. It was fun to figure out the issues that I was having with it. Once I figured it out, racked my brain with what's going on with this. But me being me, I enjoy that, and I've also got a bunch of people I can hit up like, I'm having this issue. What are your thoughts on this? Because I can't figure it out on my own. So that's one good thing about the maker community is they definitely do help out. But I mean, I troubleshooted it myself and looking things up on YouTube now and again. When I'm just like
the community around this is fantastic.
but yeah, I totally love tinkering with it. That printer there too. Also, I fixed wires underneath it because they were not secured properly. So whenever it got set down multiple times, it actually ruptured the wiring. So I had to actually fix the wires.
So the insulation got pinched in the.
Oh yeah, it was bad on several wires. It was a major fire hazard. So that's the first things I did on that. And then at the top for the rails going across, there's these 3D printed pieces that hold them. I actually replaced those. I actually modeled the pieces, and then it has little nuts that set on it. You had to use a needle, one of those pliers to get up there and hold it, and then take your screwdriver and undo it. So I had it inset on my print for the nuts to go in, and all I got to do is just go like that.
What is that thing that you're printing? So, what was it again that you were?
Yeah. So this wonderful thing is a cyclone, a dust cyclone for woodworking.
Yep, I've used a CNC machine to hook that up to.
Why, what?
Are you using that with a CNC machine, or what are you using that for?
Well, I hope to get a CNC machine built at some point in time, but
okay.
They will be for just like woodworking, and that way I don't have to. I've got a small shop back, so I don't have to worry about dealing with it.
Yeah, that'll keep the filter from clogging up with sawdust and stuff.
Yeah, so that's what that's for. So yeah. All right, next thing. See, let's adjust this to better resolution. Can you guys see that?
Hmm.
One looks shorter than the other.
Well,
I think the problem is you stopped the print too soon.
Supposed to be the same size.
So it failed print. It has a really big under extrusion part right there. Definitely under extruded there. All right, so this I printed on my Geeky Tech that I've fixed. Here is the bigger piece, the actual what it's supposed to. So this goes for my shop back as well, for my new tube that I got to plug into it. So this is what this is supposed to look like.
Oh, I think we lost Brian.
Yeah, he muted himself.
Brian said, "Peace out. I'm outie."
So
he probably got gathered up by the Langoliers.
Brian's had enough of looking at your print, Aaron.
Nobody did anything to my langle ears. My ears are fine. They're unlangled.
So the hot end has been replaced on it. So the hot end I have on it is a all metal hot end. Any ideas on the problem it could be having?
Well, if it's all metal, are you using a material that's getting clogged a little bit higher up in the process?
It's a direct drive as well. So.
Oh, good. I still had trouble with all metal hot ends clogging, but maybe it was because I had a bad all metal hot end. I don't know.
I've never paid more than $12 for an all metal hot end, so I bet it's probably my fault.
Well, I paid a little more than $12. I mean, I think I paid $30 for it, but also I got tired of dealing with replacing the PTFE tube in it because the white PTFE tube does not hold up to anything, especially on an enclosed printer that does ABS printing.
Yeah,
they do die after a while.
The ends of them get kind of dark and crispy.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, and it just so the tube. The interesting thing about the actual tube. So, say this is the tube part itself. From the heat and the pressure of the filament pushing, it would actually compact it down. So you would have a ring around here on the PTFE tube. It would get so hot and everything that it would compact it down. And the Flash Forge also has that problem as well, the Finder. And actually, Eddie, yes, I actually replaced the Flash Forge PTFE tube with the Capricorn. Actually, I did a video on it, and Capricorn keeps liking my stuff I keep putting out now. Anything I post, they keep liking, which is awesome. You know, I'm all for, you know, promoting a good product. And yeah, that was my thought on doing that, but I wanted to be able to not have that issue because the Flash Forge does peel lag printing. And I wanted to not have an issue with PTFE tubing, so I figured I'd just go to the all-metal hot end anyway. So that's what I did. So the issue with the all-metal hot end, thank you to Angus, because I learned this from Maker's Muse. I didn't talk to him, but from watching his videos on all-metal hot ends, I learned on what you need to do to fix this problem. And one of the problems that you have with all-metal hot ends is you need to lube it up with oil.
I haven't ever had to do that to mine.
So it's not always.
So, Brian, you probably got one that's got an internal coating. And if you don't pay more than like, I don't know, $12 for your all metal hot end, it might not have that internal.
Okay. I've been using the Micro Swiss all metal hot ends.
And mine is a knockoff Micro Swiss, so it does not have that internal coating. But yeah, that's the problem it was having with it.
So you have to season it like a cast iron pan to get that layer on there.
Yep. But whenever you do that and you've got it set so it feeds, so whenever on the Kitty Tech, you can press the button and it feeds it through, and then it will pull it out as well, which is nice. Normally when you go to feed through, you can tell whenever it's just kind of curling up and everything, but you put that oil in there, it just goes just straight line.
What's funny is
really cool.
We discovered, I say we, I remember when the community discovered that little powerful vegetable oil on the tip of your filament, and it will cause it to feed through a lot better. And we were like, man, what's next? We're going to discover that cedar planks are the best, build surface that we could possibly do. I feel like we've gotten close.
So I had this just extruding out, and it did it perfectly where it just went
nice,
just perfectly. So
Slinky, it's fun for a girl and a boy.
Hey, watch out! Get demonetized over here.
Oh, sorry.
On his channel, what's he here?
Oh, that's true. It's not my channel. Just trying to break habits, you know.
So yeah, all metal hot ends. Some of them you have to season.
Got to grease them up.
Grease them up. And I may at some point in time get a Micro Swiss for it. Just bite the bullet and spend the extra money to do that, and not have to constantly season it every now and again. So, because sometimes you can just season it and then it'll be fine. So, but what I do is I just take the oil and I just have the filament running down, and I just kind of use it to guide the oil into it, and then let it feed it down, and there we go.
There are people, you can find them out there. There are filament oilers.
Yes, there are filament oilers, and I was thinking about doing that as well, so I don't have to do that. So,
and yeah, reportedly they work, but
yeah. So, Yeah,
I got a question for you guys. I'm currently having a printer failure, and I can't figure out the answer. Well, I know the answer, I guess, but I don't like the answer that I got, so I'm looking for a new answer. It's like you go to the doctor and they tell you have an illness, and so you go to a different doctor because you don't want to hear that. That's kind of the way I feel right now. So I've been trying to print. So I don't. If any of you guys have followed me on Twitter or anything, you might have seen that a couple weeks ago my son broke his foot. He's 2 years old. He's been jumping around on the couch a lot lately, and I've been telling him, "Don't jump on the couch. Don't jump on the couch." Well, he jumped off the couch, and my other son tried to stop him. And when my son tried to stop him, he grabbed onto one of his feet, but not the other foot, and so he fell at an awkward angle, and he broke two of his toes way down deep in his foot. Luckily, he broke them in a spot where it's least likely to affect his growth later on, so should be okay. He has to wear a boot for like 6 weeks or whatever. But when he first broke his foot, and they told us that on the X-ray said he had broken his foot, I said, you know what? I'm gonna 3D print a splint for his foot. So I said this would be perfect. Like what a great application for this, right? So I went on Fusion 360. I modeled up a really simple basic splint, and I went to print it out. And I said probably the best material is going to be something that is semi-flexible, just barely any flex to it, so that if it needs to flex or move, then it can, and it's going to cause him less pain if it has to move or whatever. So I decided I'm going to print in PETG. So I started it up in PETG, put it on my printer, and about halfway through, I noticed the edges not just curling, but like full on lifting off the build plate. I used an authentic build tech surface. So once that print finished and it looked, a little something like that, when the finished model was done, I decided I was going to re-level the build plate. I leveled it so that the nozzle was a lot closer, so I had a lot better squish. I cleaned off the surface with alcohol to make sure it was nice and clean, reprinted it, had the exact same problem. So I tried it again with tape. I actually put painter's tape over the top of my build tack and printed it again, and it actually pulled the tape off of the build tack bed.
Ooh, it's serious.
It's a pretty gnarly curl. I mean, it probably curled. I think I modeled it to be about 8 inches long on the long part of it, and over the course of 8 inches, if the middle is touching the build plate, the edges were about 3/4 of an inch hanging off, sticking up.
Wow,
flying up in the air.
Would it help if you used a brim on it?
Well, it might, but one thing that I noticed is the painter's tape was really well stuck to the print, but it just ripped the whole layer of painter's tape all the way off of the bed. So a brim might help, but if you're pulling, I mean, the painter's tape I was using was
what temperature are you printing with your bed and your extruder?
Oh, on the bed, I was using 60 on the bed, and my
I do at least 65 at least. For that, I do at least 65.
PETG needs a good hot build plate. Also, it does better with an enclosure. It doesn't necessarily need it like ABS does, but it does do a lot better with an enclosure. I'm guessing your ambient temperature is not what it wants. I'm guessing the room that you've got it into, occasionally the AC comes on, and that just that's just a surefire way to tick off PETG.
I guess so. See, and the thing is, I specifically remember about 2 years ago or so, I was watching a video that was put out by Matter Hackers, where they were talking about printing with PETG, and I remember like thinking, okay, this is going to solve a lot of my PETG problems. I'm really excited to see this video. Actually, I think it was more like 4 years ago. It was a while ago, and I remember watching the video, and they were like, PETG is great, and it talks about all these advantages of using PETG. And then I was waiting for them to give me tips on how to print PETG, and it was all just print it like PLA.
Nope.
And that was the whole end of the video, and I was like, come on, Matter Hackers, you can do better than this.
Yeah.
Matter Hackers, if you're watching, we still want you as a sponsor, but I will gladly help you redo your YouTube video.
Print it like PLA, only hotter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with less fan.
Enclosure.
Yeah, so usually what I do, and Eddie was saying, like, in the first 3 layers at least, don't have your fan on, have it enabled, which I definitely agree. I also will print it without a fan if need be. But yeah, my build plate, I don't go under 65 for printing anything really if it's a heated build plate. And Eddie's just throwing numbers down there in chat, so.
Yeah, no, I agree with Eddie's numbers. I tend to run my bed about 70, 75. He's running his hotter, but yeah, you kind of want it hot, and you want the fan off for those first.
Usually, when I do ABS, you want it to cool evenly. You don't want it to cool rapidly and warp up, just like ABS. But yeah, usually whenever I print like PETG or ABS, I definitely crank up the print bed. But if I'm printing ABS, I'm printing it on my Geeky Tech, and it's enclosed, so I don't have to worry about.
I don't print
a lot
ABS
of stuff there
anymore. I've decided that ABS was not suitable for 3D printing, and we were foolish to ever do it. Now, mind you, I did it. I've been 3D printing long enough that was the only thing I used for a while, and it took me a while to convert to PLA. I was like, oh, come on, ABS is it's good for this and that and that and that. And now I'm like, oh, what was I thinking?
Yeah, so that's what I've been working on. Well, I mean, the funny thing is, by the time it even finished printing, my wife got a phone call from. We live in a pretty small community, so we pretty much know everybody. So, and my wife is a nurse, so she knows a lot of the doctors, anyways. And so we got a phone call from the podiatrist, and he said, "I'm usually closed, but you guys go ahead and bring your 2-year-old in because I know you guys, I know your family. Go ahead and bring him in, and I'll get him fitted for a boot." So he actually has like a full boot that wraps around his foot. So we never needed the splint.
Point anyways, you didn't end up needing it. Oh, well.
We never needed it, but it was just an interesting experiment for me. Like, if I needed it, could I make one? But I never got a chance to test it because by the time I got at one that actually printed well enough that it could work, he had a boot on his foot, which was 20 times better than any splint I could print. So,
well, this is. I mean, it's fun to 3D print this sort of thing, but your experience also illustrates one of the things that we need 3D printing to be able to go from zero to a solution like this a lot faster, so that the next time this happens, your doctor's first response will be, "Oh, we'll just 3D print it. We'll get that solution taken care of for you."
Let me scan his foot really quick, and I'll just send it to the printer. Give us 10 minutes, we'll have it on.
Exactly.
Interesting that you bring that up. I was just thinking about this the other day at Maker Faire. I think it was last year. There was an interview done with Adrian Boyer. I don't know if you guys watched this interview or not, but he was talking about, basically he has this theory about instant 3D printing. Have you guys seen this?
This was at the East Coast Rep Rap Festival.
Oh, is that it?
Who gets to take credit for getting him there, and I got to interview him as well. Yeah, this was an amazing talk. This was, first of all, Adrian Boyer. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So if you guys are unfamiliar with what we're talking about, basically he was talking about like a resin type printer that basically you would organize the particles inside of the printer in a certain way so that you could direct an electronic charge, and you essentially shock the resin in a specific way, and it would send the electrical current through, and as the current goes through, it would instantly solidify where that current touched. And so you could essentially take and make a 3D model, put it in the printer, and you would instantly get that shape within, a second or two. And then
no, it's not entirely within a second. In order for this thing to work, you need to have a certain specific amount of energy at a specific point. And what he's doing is essentially shocking between, two leads and trusting that the electricity is going to follow not in a straight line, because it doesn't. It's going to follow the path of least resistance, but to be able to predict that so that it can more rapidly go zip, 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 and build something in 3D in real time. Now, have you also seen the people who are doing something? They've got a resin printer and they're spinning the liquid around, and they're hitting it with a depth map, essentially, at all different angles. Now, the resin that they're using is oxygenated. So the idea is that this oxygenated resin, as you hit it with some light energy, it deoxygenates part of it, but it doesn't harden at that point. The oxygen inhibits the hardening, and then they rotate it and they hit it again, and other parts deoxygenate, and then they rotate it and they hit it again, and eventually one part completely deoxygenates and turns solid. And so they can render something in 3D, printing it in 3D just by spinning around. Now, my one problem with this is that the viscosity of the fluid means that it's going to be moving internally, but it's a cool process. So whether his instant or I think that somebody's going to figure something out, and we're going to have a new 3D printing technology that is not deposition at all, and it will change the game.
Oh yeah.
So I got an idea. Tell me what you guys think about this. This just popped into my head, right? So imagine what if. So have you seen people? Because I'm a robotics teacher, and we work with Lego robots, and so I'm always looking at fun little Lego robots. I've seen somebody build a Lego robot that is a wire bending machine. Have you seen these things?
Yes.
So it feeds like a pipe cleaner through, and it bends it to make shapes or whatever. Imagine we have a wire bending machine that can create a wire frame of an object that we're trying to make. That then you take the wire frame and dunk it in the resin between two leads, send the electrical current through that, and have it actually like crystallize essentially around that wire frame into that shape within seconds.
You work on that prototype and let us know how it goes.
Come on, that would be sweet, right?
No. What's funny about those wire bending machines is whenever I see them, what I always think about is I had a job. I used to do balloon animals at restaurants, and that's essentially the same thing. You've got a long, thin balloon that you're working bit by bit to form your animal, and you're just feeding the leftover into the tail that's sitting out there behind you. So essentially, I'm doing that same thing as the wire bending machine. I'm and I'm producing the shape right there with my hand. So there was a mathematician who, she's on YouTube now, V Heart, who she was also doing balloons about the same time, and she was looking at the difficulty of doing platonic solids and regular geometric shapes with a single line. So there have been people working on a problem similar to what you're thinking of for a long time, and it's possible that we could have that idea of generating a lattice. Well, what if we combine it? What if we combine, because we already have like a wire 3D print setting in Cura, right? You guys have seen that. So we'll do the deposition modeling in the wire, but then use that as I suppose the problem is that's not conductive, but there's got to be something there.
Print with a conductive filament.
No conductive filament. I mean,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Filament is
mildly conductive.
They're just very poor conductors. Yeah.
Print your own chips because they're semiconductors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
hi, Jimmy.
Yeah. Yes, Jimmy, how's it going?
I see rumors of pizza.
We are doing good, Jimmy. We are.
Jimmy's bringing pizza. Everybody send Jimmy.
Jimmy, are you sending us pizza? I'll take some pizza.
Everyone DM Jimmy your address and he'll send pizza.
Hopefully, he's going to be coming through my town, and we're going to. So I don't know, Jimmy. Where do you want to go to eat? Because we need to figure that out too.
I think Jimmy wants.
Well, apparently, maybe I should send Joe my address, and he'd send me a resin printer.
So yeah, that was the last time I had a resin printer that I hadn't touched. I'm a little bit leery of resin printing. I have children. I have lots of children, and I have the vision of me pulling off that bed full of resin and getting ready to do something with it and setting it on the table and cleaning something off and having a little kid grab it off the edge of the table and dump it on them. And I'm like, I don't want to live in that world, you know?
I don't want to live in a world where I fear that even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So every time I get these manufacturers like, hey, will you check out our resin printer? I'm like, just as soon as you make it fill and empty that bed without me having to touch the dang thing, you know? And
I don't do resin because I, A, have cats, B, have a kid, and C, I am just not enough of a neatnik to be able to do that safely. I'm not going to tell your wife. I'm not going to tell your wife that your cat was A.
No,
your cat was A and your kid was B.
Cat was A, kid was B. We know that.
The cats were around first. Sorry.
I mean, cat'll be dead first, so then it won't be a problem.
Be nice.
I'm sorry.
Stop bringing up the circle of life.
Oh, but no, I completely understand that. Did you guys watch Joel Telling's video he did with our good friend Geeky Vase?
No, I did not.
I saw his Vase video. I haven't watched it. I'm terrible at watching.
And he said, because with the SL1 in the beginning of it, he did not wear protective gloves. He said, I've gotten so used to doing it and like how it sets and just he doesn't do it. But he did go inside and wash his hands. I mean, he
wear gloves.
But whenever he used his bigger printer, he actually had the gloves on and used that. So yes, but gloves is definitely a thing to do.
And again, for me, if I got one of those printers, I would want to get the Form 1, Form 2 printers that it empties and fills the vat for you. But my problem with the form printers is they're a single point of light, so you can only have a 0.4 millimeter. It's a deposition modeling with light. Like I want to cure a whole layer at once. In fact, I want to get it off the build plate so that we can do that like instant, pull it out like a T1000 prints. You know, those are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first learned about SLA printing, SLS printing, I saw a video and they did a time lapse where it shows it come out of the resin just like that. And I was like, wow, it's so fast. And then I realized it was a time lapse and I was like, dang it. That was before I knew anything about 3D printing at all. I was just like, that's the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of people show me the videos of those.
Future.
Who's the one who does the time lapse on the Octoprints, and they're really pretty. Wild
Rose builds.
Yeah.
And I've had people like, look at this, it's just printing in midair. The nozzles. I'm like, it's a time lapse. They pull the nozzle away and take a picture at the same spot every time. They're like, really?
Yeah, I think the number one comment on his videos is, it's fake. The nozzle doesn't even touch the printer.
I ought to do some fake 3D prints for my videos. Just take the preview render and just make it look good or something.
You need to just render a model of a 3D printer and then just
I've got that Mandalorian helmet printing on one of my bigger printers right now, and I am doing an octolapse time lapse on it.
Ooh, good luck with that.
Nice.
But I'm like 38 hours into it, and it's like halfway done.
Believe it.
So it's nice looking.
See, I wouldn't mind doing that, but after the power surge. What was that, Joe?
Oh, you go first.
Okay, I said I've been wanting to do a nice helmet that's fully intact, that's tall or something. But after that power surge, I'm hesitant to print. A long print on it.
Put a UPS on it.
I need to get a UPS. That's exactly what I was thinking. So
I have an ANET A8, so I
what
worry
you
about
think, Joe?
having it print while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, that one will burn your house down.
You can replace the board on it
it's
and
in
add.
my classroom. It's in my classroom, not in my house. It's fine.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I mean, you burned
You're
it
good.
down. All you're going to have is celebration.
Well, I mean, who knows when school's going to start back up again? So we got time.
How are they handling? You know what? I don't even want to talk about this. Good luck with that. We'll go with that.
All right. So what was you saying
chat
earlier,
on Discord later, Joe?
I was going to say, shall I show you guys something that I've been working on?
Yes.
I want to see it.
Always. We like show and tell. That's what the
it.
show. We do want to show.
It's going to drive you nuts. It drove me nuts. Okay. Now that we've let that hang for just 1 second, I had a patron come into the makerspace, and they told me about the Kumoshift, which I don't recommend looking up because you're going to get their ads all over the internet if you do. But basically, it's this. Monks discovered the secret of meditation by controlling their breathing by playing flutes with baskets on their heads for anonymity or something. And so they would enter this meditative state. And so they have invented the Kumoshift to give you all the benefits of being able to control your breathing.
Oh, that thing. I've seen the commercials for that on YouTube, and then I skip them.
Yes.
It's like a dog whistle that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's not. It's just a straw.
It's a straw with a thing on the end of it so you can't blow out too hard.
Oh, no, you can blow out. The thing on the end of it's just to make it dangle. You can blow out as hard as you want. It just takes 8 seconds to empty your lungs. And that 8-second exhale, I mean, you could just go.
Couldn't you just go?
And you get all the same benefits. Okay. $100. $100 they charge for, and mind you, theirs is metal and it has all sorts of print decorations on it. But a patron came up to me and was like, "Could we 3D print?" I'm like, "Could we 3D print? I'll give you a straw and I'll put it
here's a straw. I'll cut it off. It's about 2 inches long. Here you go.
That'll be. I'll charge you half.
That'll be $99.95.
But you know, she I was like, being in the maker space, of course, I can't be like, "Oh yes, here, it'll take me like 20 seconds to model this thing." I was like, "Well, here's the tools that you can do it, and why don't you go ahead and see if you can figure it." And then as soon as she left, I was like, "Okay, 20 seconds, let's model this sucker." So I did that. But then, and now
Just watching the stream right now.
The second one, I don't know if my camera will show it up, but I put 3DP Professor looped around it because they had branding all over theirs. But I thought, okay, what they're doing 2 things. They're selling you a story. And it's a good story. Okay. And then they're giving you a pretty piece of jewelry. Now, this is not a pretty piece of jewelry. This is kind of
mediocre plastic.
But
don't say that. Joe made it.
Let's see if this one shows up in the so I have a 3D bump pattern, and this is actually a CNC pattern that you could use to CNC a dragon into a piece of wood that I then used a displacement map and wrapped it around the tube so it looks like a little Chinese dragon. This is pretty cool.
Nice.
Hey, do you guys remember what was it called?
Can you sell that for $100?
Velocity printing?
Velocity printing?
Yeah, do you remember that?
Velocity painting.
Velocity painting. That was it. Where you take an image and you imprint it in, and the only thing that matters is you just change the speed of the print.
Right.
And so you can't even tell just by feeling it. You can't even tell that it's there, but you can see it because the speed changes the color of the film.
And it very much depends on the filament that you're using. Velocity painting doesn't work for all PLAs. It works best for G actually. This will work for everything just because it's a displace map. It's geometry actually that did it. But it's basically, remember when I was doing lithophanes way back when? It's a lithophane wrapped around it in a circle.
Very cool.
So it turned out in the end, I don't know if this is worth $100, but it's definitely worth. Oh, I was showing you the wrong side. It's definitely worth. If you wanted to have a meditative device that you 3D printed, I don't think you'd be too ashamed to have this one around your neck, or at least on your keychain.
You could
or you could just get a ballpoint pen and take the middle out of it. And
so you make a really nice one that you sell to calm nice people, and you call it whatever it was that it was called, and then you make another one that's got like a skull and crossbones and call it a death whistle. Only one who has seen true death can hear the sound of the tolling of the whistle.
Call it the Wallet Raider 3000 or something.
The Wallet Raider 3000.
I was thinking, of course, I'd rebrand it like the Kumoshift or something like that.
The commode what?
Joe. Commode Joe. Yeah, that's good.
Take the plunge.
That's funny.
Take the plunge. Oh man, that's so good. Oh.
We got to talk about something to do with putting it in your mouth.
I don't think we can do that on a family-friendly channel.
Oh, we've already left that far.
But wait a minute. Juicy Fruit did that back in the 80s. Remember the Juicy Fruit gum commercials from the 1980s?
There's a lot of stuff that should have been left in the 80s. All right.
That's so true. Oh man.
That song
was left in the 80s.
All right.
Eddie, that is so true. People will probably use it for doing that.
So my Eddie Moser
Router 2000.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You could build in like a little grinder, right? So you wouldn't have, you just fill it with the raw material and snort it right up. So back to family friendly topics. My robotics team, my new season for my robotics team has just been released. The new theme just got released, and the theme we have to come up with a community project every year. You take the theme and you have to come up with a community project based around that. And I've been trying to kind of preload myself by coming up with some backup projects. That way, if my robotics team gets stumped, I can kind of show them some cool, neat, interesting things and help to point them in a direction.
Just be ready to spark their interest.
Right. So this year's theme is called Replay. Basically, it's all about getting outside, playing sports, getting more people involved in sports, making sports more accessible to people who are disabled or whatever. And so there's a lot to do with sports, and the robot games are all about completing different sports. There's weightlifting, there's bocce, there's all kinds of games that you have to make your robot play, and you score points for each game that you complete. But we have to come up with a community project that's based around that theme. So one thing that I was thinking about today is my high school is thinking about building a new gym. And so I was thinking, how cool would it be if we could get them to install kinetic tiles underneath the floor of the gym? If those of you guys that don't know what kinetic tiles are, they're piezo electric generators. So they're like little crystals that when you step on the floor, it sends a little electric charge that charges a battery system that can then be looped into the main electrical of the building. You could use it to power lights, whatever else. Eddie, I don't even want to get into the fact that my kids can't even use robots. How am I supposed to teach robotics? I'm not allowed to use the robots yet. I might not get to pull my robots out all year. But anyways, so I've been looking up. PaveGen is a company that is like the #1 company in these kinetic tiles, and so I've been trying to get in touch with them so I can get them to send me a free one, because I think it'd be awesome to show my students. They could take it to a town council meeting or they could take it to the school board meeting. Hey, when you guys build this gym, this would be a really cool thing. But I can't get any good information from them. So I started looking up how to DIY one of these generators, these piezoelectric generators. So I found out that you can buy piezos for like the game Rock Band. They go in the little drum set. And they're just these little tiny piezoelectric generators that go in the drum set, and I think they're like $7 for like 15 of them.
Now, I would be concerned if I were you that they don't generate enough, because those are just generating enough current to tell that you've hit the drums.
Right. So what I'm going to do is get 30 of them, and then I'm going to build my own plate that has them all wired together.
I mean, if one doesn't work, I guess 30 of them might.
Well, yeah. So because I can buy 15 of them for $7, so I'm going to buy 30 of them, and if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing, right? So I'm going to try out small. I've seen some experiments with
30 piezoelectric dubers, touch sensitive dubers to play with.
I saw a tutorial on doing it to make a little LED light flash, where it uses a breadboard and a capacitor. And so they use one of these things, and you just tap it, and you can connect a little voltmeter until you get like 8 volts or something like that. So you just keep tapping until it charges the capacitor. You flip a switch, and then it just flashes the LED. And so I thought maybe I could make a much larger version of that. And then we could take that to like the school board. I could have the kids, dance around on it or whatever. And then, we flip a switch and go, we just power this light bulb with the power of movement. And so, yeah.
So instead of Dance Dance Revolution, it's Dance Dance Electrocution.
So, the reason why I had this idea is because I've been paying attention to this company, PaveGen, for a while. They actually, in Brazil, created a soccer pitch that has these piezoelectric tiles underneath synthetic grass. And so they built it in this community, and they have all these kids that usually they'd get into drug running and stuff like that. I went to Brazil on my mission, and so I've seen a lot of, what these kids can get into if they don't have anything to do. And so what they do is they play soccer on this pitch, and they run around all day long, and it charges a battery system. And then at nighttime, those batteries power lights so they can continue to play even at nighttime. And so it's something that has been put into practice before, but it's not really something that's very common anywhere in the world. And so I thought, what if we could make cheaply our own version of this? If I can spend $20 and make a piezoelectric generator, how easy then would it be to take that same idea and implement it in a system that could cover an entire gym?
As a proof of concept, your idea has merit, because if you get better sensors and more sensitive piezoelectrics, which will cost more than 30 times as much as one of those cheap ones will, but you get some more sensitive systems, and your proof of concept suddenly becomes applicable,
more viable.
Yeah.
So this idea is still just kind of brewing in my head, and I don't really know how I'm going to do it, but I know that there's a lot of CNC and 3D printing processes, I don't know how you say that word, processes that you can create. You can create your own circuit boards. And so what I would really like to do is create my own board to control all of this and not have this breadboard mashup thing. And so one of the things that I want to do this year is show my students and my robotics team how to make their own version of this, so that it would be compact in a little thing, and we could make it ourselves, I guess. But I don't know how to do that.
Well, I would say, so I have not done, but have, like you, played with the idea of making my own circuit boards with 3D printing, CNC, and things like that. And in the end, especially for a project like this, it's usually better not to just go you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna use one of those little breadboards that you solder the connections together and just hack something together for it. You save your making your own little CNC board for version 2. But the other thing is what's it called? Man, I hate having a new computer because I haven't installed the software yet. But there is a piece of software that you can draw up your circuit boards and then send it to another company that will make your CNC to make your circuit boards for you. They cost like $6 a piece. It's not worth putting your project off for $6.
That's true.
I think I might be wrong about that, but in my opinion, use a service, man. They're cheap.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
What would you think of an edible version of your straw thing?
Is that a veggie straw?
No, just give it one good blow through it and see if you get an 8-second exhale. Although, you know what?
These really relax me.
Yeah.
But I mean, wouldn't lung capacity affect that more than anything else?
Well, I mean, there is only a certain amount of volume of air that you can push through a certain size of tube. I mean, air is a fluid, so yes, lung capacity will definitely have something to do with it. And chances are, if we were having a breathe off between us, somebody who's more hey, I blew up balloons by mouth. I'll bet you I could beat every single one of you, but I
can triple my output
like by 1 second. Ooh,
I can triple my output. I have been breathing my entire life. I've been breathing since birth, Joe. So, I mean,
I don't know if I can compete with that.
I don't want to brag or anything, but breathing is something that I'm pretty dang good. I can do it in my sleep.
I haven't been breathing my entire life. Not yet, anyway.
Did Chris sign his own death warrant?
Yes, that was the last breath that he was going to take because he's breathed his entire life.
That's true.
You have breathed your last, sir.
That was pretty good there, Brian.
That was the last straw.
Oh. I mean, you can't eat another one while you're here.
You know those veggie straws?
If I did, then that wouldn't have been the last straw. Let's set those aside now. I'll come back to you later.
You come back later, it won't be the last straw anymore.
So I've also been working on, and in fact, while we've been talking, I've pulled up Blender and I'm working on chibi malls. Yeah. I want to make a cartoon out of them, and I had this funny idea. I thought, wouldn't it be neat to 3D print like the chibi malls in different poses and then swap them out and do stop motion animation that way? But this got to be so involved. It just took a long time to do that. Eventually I was like, wait a second, isn't Blender an animation program?
I can't believe you wouldn't do that.
Turning on that entirely, and they're just going to be computer animated. But then I'll be able to take the model from that and 3D print them or make the models for them available. So
didn't you do that with low poly dinos?
I never rendered them like this. This time I'm going for like I'm trying as much as possible to make you question whether it's rendered or not. I'm trying to make it look as realistic as possible. I think I'm well into the uncanny valley at this point. So it's close enough that you're going to go, ooh, something's wrong with that, and you're going to know it's not right. But
the uncanny valley. It's disturbingly close to the real thing.
That's right. Have you guys seen Ian Hubert?
I've seen a lot of things.
Easy Blender tutorials. Have you guys haven't it? They are amusing, his lazy Blender tutorials, and I watch them just to laugh. But
didn't you post a video about this? Didn't you post a video about this? It seems like I remember you posting a video, something you wanted oh, maybe it was you were going to model something in 10 minutes or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, that's Infenzia. He's a different dude. Yeah, no, the lazy blender tutorials. The reason why I'm going because I do want to do one of those. He did one where he made those balloon people that advertise stuff with the air.
The air dancers.
That was a great imitation.
You knew exactly what I was talking about.
Oh yeah, it was excellent.
I saw somebody actually one time cosplay that. They had a big old costume, and they were standing at the convention going like this, and then when somebody walked by, they went blah, 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 blah. But he did a tutorial about that, and I was like, wait a second, I could do that. And so I followed along and did it and made the models, and I was like, okay, what I need to do is I need to 3D print these little models at various poses that they are and do a follow-up video with that. So I haven't done that video. And the fact that you were talking about me doing that video, I'm like, have I been doing videos in my sleep?
Dun, dun, dun.
He's from the future.
And are they better than the ones that I do when I'm awake?
Wait, what year is it? It worked. Although, if I was going to time travel, why on earth would I ever time travel to 2020?
Oh.
What is wrong with me?
Yeah, there's a couple of years that you want. The Black Plague? Nah. World War II? Just stay away. 2020? No.
Have you guys watched The Umbrella Academy?
Yes.
So I don't have Netflix. I haven't watched it, but my life has kept skidding against The Umbrella Academy, so I need to. I think
it's an interesting watch.
I ran across the comic book, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," but I never read the whole thing. And then I saw The Umbrella Academy when it first came out, and I was like, "Oh, that looks interesting," but I never got the name of it. And then somebody else was like, "Oh, dude, Umbrella Academy, this is it." And I was like, "Oh, that's that thing that I saw. Oh, it's based off of that comic book that I saw. I should dive into this thing at some point."
That's good.
It's one of those. It was a little predictable for me because I pretty much pegged it first episode, and then in the end there was a twist, and I was not as surprised as I should have been because I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that." But I'm also a really good guesser, so
the comic book sucks. They did a good job with the source material making that TV show, because the comic book. Okay, let me give you just a taste of the comic book. In the first issue, as they're going through him gathering all the babies, they bring up
tastes like paper.
They bring up that he's an alien. Yeah, no,
if you just ruined season 3 for me, Joe, I'm telling you.
This whole stuff went, and he got the babies. And by
Joe,
the way,
there's people in chat that not have watched season 2, and
well, it's not in season 2.
Not yet.
But I'm telling you, him being an alien would explain a lot of stinking things in that show, and now I'm a little ticked that I didn't think of it first.
Have you watched all of season 2, Chris?
Yeah.
In the comic book.
You missed it. You missed it, Joe.
Yeah, you're right.
You missed it, Chris.
You're right. I remember now.
In the comic book.
Spoiler warning.
Oh, and he's an alien, and it never meant anything. And I'm like, this. Why would you set up something like that and then not have it mean anything? And that's just what it was. But, so I think they did a good job with what they did with the series, and I want to watch it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. There were some interesting twists that I liked. I've been trying to get my parents to watch it so I'd have somebody to theorize with. My wife doesn't watch stuff like that, so I don't have anyone to I'm a huge conspiracy theorist. I don't care as much about the show as much as I care about the theories that I can pull out of my head. And what if this is Like, I have this theory that Dumbledore created a Horcrux.
That's not what a conspiracy theorist is.
Well, I don't know what the proper term is. I don't teach English. I teach robotics.
You like to overthink things.
I definitely do. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Theorist. No, that's too close to conspiracy theorist. I don't know.
Film theorist.
Film theorist.
Theoretical thinker.
But I'm telling you right now, I'm 100% sure Dumbledore created a Horcrux. Guaranteed. He did. Absolutely.
Created a what?
Okay,
A
who did
Horcrux.
he kill?
Who did he kill? His sister.
He killed his sister?
Yeah, well, so there was the duel between him and Grindelwald when he was younger, and in that duel between him, Grindelwald, and Aberforth, one of them sent a spell that killed their sister, and none of them know who it was. So it doesn't matter that even if Dumbledore didn't actually kill his sister, if he thinks he did, it would be enough grief for him to be able to split his soul. So at that time, he was searching for the Deathly Hallows. He was going down a path that he knew was dark, that wasn't the way he should go. And from that moment, once his sister died, that was the moment that he realized, I need to wake up and change my life. So he rips his soul. The dark pieces of his soul get sent to a Horcrux, and then good Dumbledore emerges from that. And that's the Dumbledore that we know and love throughout the Harry Potter series.
Okay, I think you're giving
I
Jake
guess I need to watch these.
way too much credit.
This is, see, it doesn't matter if it's in the books or not. This is all about my theory in my head. That's the thing. I create it in the universe. I create it. It doesn't matter if anybody else creates it at all. It's all, I don't care as much about the Harry Potter theory, about Harry Potter in general, as much as I care about my theories.
Good night, TD3D.
Night
So,
theory.
Yeah.
There was a series of YouTube videos that I watched where somebody rewrote the Harry Potter stories that happened after with Harry Potter's son and everything.
Right.
And in that series that he wrote, he like looked at that play that happened. He was like, okay, this sucks. I can do better. And he wrote a better story. And people took that story and they made a stage production out of it. And apparently it was extremely well received. But he had things like finding out that Harry and Hermione were or had at some point had an affair. Like after, like when they were adults.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Cursed Child? Or are you talking about?
It was a Cursed Child rewrite that he did.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and the thing is, this whole thing made me realize that almost anybody could write Harry Potter better than J.K. Rowling did. But are you also on the Jar Jar Binks with a Sith Lord?
No, let me just preface one thing. Let me just preface this right now. Like, let me just explain. Star Wars is not. I really like Star Wars. I like episodes 4, 5, and 6. I like episodes 2 and 3. I will watch episode 1.
If I have to.
The episodes 7, 8, 9. Now, when episode 9 came out on DVD, I told my wife to just go ahead and buy it because I knew I was going to want it. Whether I liked it or not, I knew I was going to want it. Just because I have to have a collection, right? I have 1 through 8, got to have 9 too. So she buys it, and I was doing distance learning. I was doing online classes with my robotics classes. It was the end of the school year when the whole quarantine stuff started happening. And so my parents came over and were watching my kids, and they were watching Star Wars on my TV while I was teaching my classes, and I was doing stuff so I wasn't really paying attention, half paying attention. All I know is that I look up and I see Rey start talking about how Princess Leia is her Jedi master. And after that, I was like, this is complete nonsense. So as far as like Star Wars theories go, I kind of distanced myself from Star Wars for a little bit because I'm mad at them. And then once I get over myself, then I'll come back and I'll make some really good theories. But as of right now, I'm a little.
If you're mad, just be mad at Catherine Kennedy.
Yeah.
So you're mad at Catherine Kennedy, which I'm pretty sure got fired because everybody's mad at Catherine Kennedy.
But this is all I'm going to
there's
say.
a current theory that they're going to completely erase those because they underperformed. I don't think they're going to erase them or whatever. They're definitely going to ignore that they happened. But
this is my one main Star Wars like theory, and it's all about rewriting the universe because I hated it in The Last Jedi. All right, in The Last Jedi, when Princess Leia gets sucked out of the window and she's floating around in space, and even though she's never ever in her life shown any inkling of the Force, she suddenly is able to like force pull herself through space. And then
that we know of. I mean, she might have gotten some training after the last movie.
Well,
we weren't there, and they didn't tell us about it, and they didn't.
Well, they did explain it in the last movie to where she did actually have Jedi training from Luke.
But that's what I'm saying.
They did not even.
I think what Chris is saying is that performance was a bit forced.
Brian. So here's what I'm saying.
Here's what I call it. I call it the Mary Poppins is what she was pulling.
The Mary Poppins. This is the thing that should have happened.
That umbrella would never have worked. The center of gravity was way off. And
this is how it should have happened. All right. So they had Admiral Holdo, is that what her name was? That ends up jumping into warp speed right through the destroyers and blowing all the ships up and stuff. I think at the end of that movie, Princess Leia should have sacrificed herself for the good of her people. She's the one that jumps into warp speed. She's the one that and then it's a much more meaningful sacrifice. And then Admiral Holdo can maybe take over as their admiral, never being able to quite live up to the expectation or something like that. I think that's a much better storyline than, they create this really awesome, powerful character and then kill her off in the same movie. So it becomes like nobody cares anymore about her.
Yeah, I think they could have. I think they could have done something like that, and I agree with you. It would have been more meaningful, and it also would have been a perfect way to not have to CG her in the next movie because
because she passed away, which is an unfortunate thing. But when you're dealing with a situation like that, that's how you solve that problem.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, back in the Uncanny Valley.
Well, or we could say
stuff doesn't always look right.
I'm just now posting the Chibi Mall farm picture to my Discord. Sorry, I hope you guys don't mind. I'm multitasking. I had to use some of my computer.
No, you're fine.
I understand that, Joe. I had my hard drive on my Mac that fried, so I replaced it.
I'm going to post it to Twitter too, just so that.
There you go.
There we go.
So,
yeah,
we went down a rabbit hole I wasn't expecting.
That's my bad. Sorry. I take full responsibility for the nonsense. Yeah.
Feel bad. It was fun.
But let me tell you, Joe, if you ever want to talk crazy theories about stuff, man, I got them.
Okay, so I am 100%. Let me just. I am 100% for the Jar Jar Binks being a Sith Lord. I think it would have been a fantastic payoff. But again, I don't think the theory that this was their plan and they changed the plan at the last minute holds any water because, again, that would be giving LucasArts way too much credit. They didn't have that plan. They didn't have any idea about that stuff. And we, as the people afterwards, have to come back and say, you know what would have worked? Like just like you did with Leia, they did that with Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
I think it would have been awesome to have Jar Jar Binks step out of the shadow and be like, Misa, plans are going so well until you Jedis got in the way.
I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you meddling Jedis.
I just can't. I don't see it. I've tried to think about that. I don't.
Have you watched the video on it?
I haven't seen a video on it. No,
I have.
I've heard of it.
He's very good.
I'll have to.
Well, also, Jar Jar was outcast and performed by juggling and stuff in the theory.
Well, and he points out that Jar Jar's behavior looks a lot like drunken kung fu.
The legend of Drunken Master.
Yes. That it could all be a sham, and the whole thing about him just happened to be in the right place at the right time to come along with this journey. Maybe he was pulling the strings the whole time. I think that the case they made for it was good enough that I could go, that would have been fun. That would have worked. Why did they have to bring in this new character? They could have had one there.
And I will say too. Never mind. No, well, Joe, we can talk through Discord later if you want to sometime.
We need to have a new podcast or whatever for this geeking out crap. Yeah. There's only like 20 of those podcasts, aren't there?
Well, I mean, it's not like our show's that popular. You know what I mean? We're not exactly,
Oh,
you heard monopoly over
Malarney in the chats, and as well as that's you, Brian. That's you, Steve.
What?
Or Chris?
What?
One rap. You heard our
Kevin.
And one Raz to rule them all.
No, that's you, Brian. It says there's 4 people watching, so.
And one of them's Brian.
But anyway, so
gotta keep those numbers
wrap it up. 26 minutes over what I was planning. Because Brian goes an hour. I'm like, yeah, an hour.
Started 15 minutes late. So,
anyways, let's talk about.
Well, it says we've been going an hour and 27 minutes. So.
Okay.
But thank you everybody so much for joining us for our show today. We will be back again, same time, same place, same corny jokes next week without those 2 over here. I mean, Brian will probably be in chat making punny jokes like he always does. I mean, if Brian wants to be on next week, he's more than welcome. If Joe wants to be on, he's more than welcome. So,
thank you.
But so yeah, we will let you all know what channel we are going to be on next week, what all we're going to be probably talking about, and all the fun things that's going to be going on and that's been going on in the maker community. So we hope you all have a great night, great morning, or whatever time it is where you're at in the world, where you're watching this. So until then, everybody, happy making, take care, and we will catch you on the flippity flip.